that recording whenever whenever we're doing the actual drawing part. So onward to what the Arts and Wellbeing group is all about.
Yeah, so what's the crack with our wee gang? So the Art and Wellbeing gang, we do a bunch of things. We mainly just have the weekly workshops where we all come together once a week for an hour to create art. We use materials from around our homes while discussing mental health and self-care. For me, with the weekly workshops, I've personally found them really fun and energizing. It's been a lovely thing to be part of. So for them to be weekly too, it's been really beneficial and really exciting to look forward to every week. I look forward to them every week because I would feel that art is more powerful than people may think. It connects us visually, it assists us to connect verbally and keeps us inspired each and every week. So each of the sessions that we've been doing really show a sense of compassion and just show that we're human. We all deserve self-care and we all have feelings, and so along with our weekly sessions, we have guest speakers. So some of these sessions have included guest speakers who will come in and deliver a workshop around a particular topic, such as the art of walking or creating pinch pots. I find that really enjoyable, and it excites me more when we get a guest speaker because we get the opportunity to learn new skills and kind of get an insight into mental health from another person's perspective. We learn new skills. So while doing the sessions, we get to use a different art material or technique. So often the materials that we use are materials that we have around our homes. And I find that's one of the real beauties of our Art and Wellbeing gang. You know, it's accessible materials that anyone and everyone has around the house, so everyone can join in without worrying about specific art materials or having to buy things. And so we are also able to develop our own confidence through facilitating and group work too. Lisa, our facilitator and trainee art therapist, also she often reaches out to us to ask us if we like to facilitate a session based on our specific skills. So, you know, with these skills that we develop, we get to do it in a chill, welcoming, safe space that I've personally found to be open, understanding, and supportive. It encourages me to practice new skills and develop existing ones. And definitely I find it makes me smile. At the end of the day, it really does. And finally, with the crack that we do, or the stuff that we do, we also like to have a wee chat while creating art together. So we make the sessions, it makes the sessions more comfortable and relaxing, and I find them to be understanding too. I find the people in the group to be understanding. You can join in if and when you want to. There's no pressure to come to the group and talk, which has been really beneficial for me because there's some days where I'm a little run down. I'm not up for talking, but I'm up for doing some art and connect, you know, check in with people with how I'm feeling and let them know, hey, I'm okay, don't worry. That's been really good. Because of how fun and beneficial it is, we often leave with sore cheeks from laughing or feeling really inspired or feeling cheered up if, you know, we're feeling tired. With the conversations we have jokes and things, but we also are able to have serious chats too. that really focus on our mental health and gives us a chance to check in with ourselves on how we're feeling. One of the ways we do that is through Mentally, which Natalie will tell us a little bit more about.
So yeah, what we do is we ask everybody how they're feeling at the start of a session. And sometimes it's maybe not the best, but I think it's important as well that we, like, whenever we ask how people are, it's like a genuine question. It's not just out of politeness. And it's such a welcoming group that you do get the authentic answer. But during the session, because it's so relaxed and there's really no pressure to, it can just be to sit there for the company for an hour, or if you want to do some work, but there's no real pressure to perform or pressure to create some sort of outstanding artwork. It's just to have fun. It's just to have that sort of time to connect and just relax and de-stress. And at the end of the session, we'll then check out with everybody to see how their mood is at the end. And as you can see from like the Mentimeter that we did, you can see that there's generally a clear improvement in people's mood, and everybody sort of feels better for having that time to just meet with people for an hour a week, and it's a really great and beneficial experience.
Yes, and saying that, with the sessions, we've been creating a bunch of amazing art. So this is an example. These are a few examples of art that I've created in our art and wellbeing sessions. The first one's like a bookbinding session we had done with one of the other participants, Molly. We learned how to make our own photo books to display photos in, and really enjoyed it because it gave me a chance to use some card that I had in my storage while also learning about Molly's photography work. The second example is the art of walking. We took a photo of a walk that we had been on and drew it. This was my interpretation, and which was a photo taken at Ormore Park, and I enjoyed it because I don't usually draw landscapes. And then the third one is a clay work session we did with Beverly, who is another one of our participants, where she taught us how to make our own titty man figure, she fits it, while also talking about the female body image. Again, I don't usually work with clay, but find this session really interesting and fun. So you can see from these examples, we do a variety of different things, and you know, we get to try something new, we get to maybe develop existing skills and have fun while we're doing it, and have conversations as well. So you'll get to see Natalie's work now.
Yep, so it's again building on what Rosie said. It's mostly repurposing materials as well. So we did like a bottle making workshop. We worked with cardboard, repurposing any cardboard anybody had around. So that was a lot of toilet roll tubes left over from like hoarding in the pandemic. And then as well as that, I have like we did a collage. Was one of the participants who mostly does collage work, Irene. She shared how that to make like good compositions and that out of, well, I made it out of food wrappers. But again, as well as that, it's a lot of art can be sort of prohibited by cost, and that was never something we really wanted to focus on. We wanted to be accessible to everybody. So it was really driven by things that are found around the house, and as well as that, trying different mediums, because some people respond better to different mediums as well. So it was important to sort of make it an enjoyable experience for everyone. Some people like working with clay, some people find it uncomfortable. So it's a good way that the workshops, they're rarely repetitive. They're always trying something different and sort of experimenting to see what works for each person, which is a really great thing to have.
Yeah, exactly. We have a really lovely sense of community here, and it doesn't just last for that 1 hour on the Monday evening. We keep this going through the week on our Slack channel, where we share our artworks with each other, and also Lisa will sometimes start a thread about self-care, so we're able to share our self-care tips with one another, express where we're at, and if we need more self-care. Personally, I feel we're really lucky to have Lisa as our lead facilitator and art psychotherapist. Not only because she's so creative, but also she, as a trainee art therapist, she has those tools to help us understand how we're feeling, and brings up topics in a safe, artsy, creative environment. In terms of community for me, I really love it. I've only been here since October, and I feel really connected with this gang. I sometimes struggle to articulate how I'm feeling, so using art helps me communicate how I feel, and also helps me communicate with others. So, being in a space with other like-minded individuals who can relate and understand where I'm coming from, it kind of breaks those barriers down. So going back to Lisa and Slack, she's also available through Slack if we need to reach out to her directly. And of course, the other members of the group are always really supportive too. Although I've never met these guys in person, as I said earlier, I feel really understood, and our wellbeing gang is a real example of a community that I'm grateful for. Next slide.
Okay, to summarize before I hand it over to Lisa, I think I'd really encourage anybody to find someone, even if it's just like a friend or like a family member, to take the time and do something similar, to have that time to sort of decompress and just enjoy like making art in some form, so that there's, because a lot of the time as well, while you're making art and focusing on working with your hands and being like tactile with something, it can help like lower the sort of pressure to talk, and then conversation can sort of happen more naturally, and it can be more genuine and more heartfelt, and there's no real sort of pressure to talk unless you don't want to. So I'd really encourage anybody to sort of like take the time and just explore art as a fun way. Don't put any pressure on yourself to make something, outstanding. Just do it for fun and the experiment and to enjoy yourself. And I'll hand it over to Lisa now for her mindful drawing, which should be great.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Natalie and Rosie. That was amazing. That was so good to hear. It's really lovely. But yeah, I'm Lisa. So I've just finished my art therapy masters, and I'm also a portrait artist, as you can probably tell by all the heads behind me. But yeah, so basically I'll be doing some mindful drawing with these tonight. But first, I want to just give you a wee presentation and basically link the mindful drawing to self-compassion, and we'll talk a wee bit about our inner critic. So we'll be doing this while we're doing the drawing. Before I get started, I actually want to do Rosie and Natalie just showed you the wee check-in there that we do in the Arts and Wellbeing gang, and we thought we would recreate it in this session. So I'm going to share a Mentimeter with you all. And if you can just basically open on your phone or on your laptop or tablets or whatever you have, just open Menti, go to mentimeter.com, and I will get you the wee code now. And I'm very slow with technology, so bear with me, but I'll get there. Okay, so can you see the Mentimeter? Yeah, so if I press present, and I'll get us a wee code now. So you can see our code at the top. I'll type it under the chat as well for you, so it's there. So if you go, like I say, mentimeter.com, and just do a wee one-word check-in. So just tell us how you're feeling now, and then I'll come back to you at the end, and you can do it again. There you go. That's the wee code. Put it in there. So can you all see the code? I went on the chat, all right? Brilliant. Oh, there we go. Look. People are tired. Hopefully I'll give you a bit of energy during this session. But yeah, you'll see it pop up there as you do it. And I can even show you that at the end before we do the checkout. So feel free to be doing that. And then I'll come back to it, like I say. So, right, I'll stop sharing that for now. Oh, there's loads now. Just as I went out of it. Where did it go? Okay, don't know where it went. I'll get you it at the end again. So I'll share my presentation with you now, 2 seconds. So share screen. So share. Okay. Let me make sure I haven't forgotten anything. So while I'm doing this, feel free to write anything in the chat that you are thinking, or anything that like connects with you, anything that's coming up. Stick it in the chat. I like when it's interactive as well. Feel free to even jump in, and if you want to say anything to me, that's grand as well. And we'll get to the drawing soon, I promise. So let me make sure I'm not forgetting anything. So 2 seconds actually. Let me just do this again. I forgot to share my sound with you. So I'm going to do a bit of music as well while you are doing the drawing. So let me just do that again. There we go. Right, you can see that. Grand. So for anyone that missed it in the email as well, basically I'll let you run around and grab this while I'm talking. So basically all you need is paper and 2 pens or pastels, or just any 2 things that make a mark that are hopefully different colors, because it'll look a wee bit better if they're different colors. If not, don't worry about it. So yeah, you can go grab that while I'm chatting away here. So yeah, let me see, where did I? So I'll start with drawing just in general. So it's pretty much just an innate thing that we all do. Like you see this when babies are even eating their food and they're starting to draw with their food. So yeah, we all draw, even though you get to school and sometimes you can be put off drawing, maybe by that critical teacher. But yeah, so it's innate. We all draw, and the museum collection really recognizes this as well. There's a load of drawings in the museum collection that you can see on their database online as well. I chose William Connor out of it. He's basically a Belfast artist, and he just drew just everyday working class people or people in his life. And I thought that was quite relevant to what we're going to do here with the mindful drawing. So what I'm going to get you to start off with is some bilateral drawing. So basically, like I say, a piece of paper and 2 different colors, and you just use your both hands at one time, and you're sort of just drawing. You can just go a bit mad with it. Like, don't worry about making anything in particular. As you can tell here, literally it's just the lines. The reason I'm getting used to do this is basically for self-regulation. So self-regulation is just basically our ability to control our own thoughts, emotions, and behavior. So often we learn self-regulation from like our parents or our guardian, and we do this by like mirroring basically their behaviors and their coping strategies. But as you can imagine, maybe sometimes those strategies and behaviors aren't the best, and then we can pick up unhealthy habits as well. So, and then there's other times where maybe there is serious trauma where self-regulation is really difficult. So bilateral drawing just offers you a way to self-regulate by connecting both sides of the brain. It also connects the mind and body. It's pretty calming. And basically this is why I say and down at the bottom there, if you use a bigger piece of paper, it's even better, because it's just that movement. And I often say to clients or in the Arts and Wellbeing gang about physically shifting that feeling. Like maybe you might be feeling a bit anxious or a bit nervous, and moving can be done in so many ways. Like it can be done cycling or running, swimming, anything. But obviously here I'm coming from like an art therapy perspective, so I'm focusing on drawing. So yeah, basically just I'll let you do that for a few wee minutes, and then I'll come back and chat to you a wee bit more about the inner critic and self-compassion, and we'll link this then to our mindful drawing as well. So I'll play you a bit of music, let you go for it. Just, yeah, be as big and as bold as you want to with this, make a mess, express yourself, get moving. And I'll be back in a couple of minutes, please. And I'll play you some music as well. And feel free to mute my music if you think it's shocking, don't worry. I won't be in at the start of the if it helps. So I'll go on a wee bit now. Oh, wait a minute, am I moving? Yes, so I'll talk to you a wee bit now about the inner critic. And if any of you were on Stephen and Soso's talk before this all ties in very lovely. But yeah, the inner critic, we're all human, so we all have this inner critic. But basically it's sort of more coming at this with how do we actually deal with that inner critic, and it's just about being aware of it. For me anyway, that's what I found, like from doing the art therapy course, you have to do your own therapy, and just gaining a bit more self-awareness was actually like life-changing. So it's just listening to it a bit more and getting to know it. And I just wrote here, like, the more you get to know your inner critic, the less power it'll have. So while we're doing our mindful drawing tonight, you might be thinking, like, I'm going to get you to look at yourself on the screen, basically, like we all have been doing on Zoom recently. And you might just, those wee critical thoughts pop up, or this voice, and you might just start thinking about a wee bit more about it and where it comes from. And like, it might be society, might be a critical parent or sibling or teacher, boss, anyone that could come from so many places. So yeah, we're going to try and get to know our inner critic a wee bit more, but we're going to try and combat it with a bit of self-compassion. So there is 3 pillars of self-compassion. So the first is mindfulness, the second is kindness, and the third is common humanity. I'll talk a wee bit more about them in a wee minute, but I just want to highlight for you Kristen Neff. I'm absolutely obsessed with Kristen Neff and her self-compassion. She has a website. You can even go on and actually do your own like self-compassion score and find out how good you are at self-compassion or not, and how much more you should be kind to yourself. So you can check her out, even YouTube as well. Her chats are incredible on there. So yeah, I'll talk a wee bit more now about our road to self-compassion and those 3 pillars basically, and what it means. So mindfulness is basically about being brave and acknowledging your pain. So often it's really easy. Like when you're suffering, you don't even acknowledge you're suffering. We need to go into practical mode sometimes and just sort of deal with the practical side of things, whether it's bereavement or trauma. You just go into getting things done and you don't even acknowledge how difficult the situation is. So the mindfulness element is just becoming more aware of that and acknowledging the pain. Decreases avoidance, so you're not avoiding it anymore, and the shame, and then it just increases our sense of safeness. And then the kindness pillar, the easiest way I can describe this, and I've stole this from Kristen Neff, I didn't just make this up, but yeah, she just describes it as, what would you say to a friend in that situation? So when you are struggling, or when that inner critic pops up in your head, and you sort of respond to it and let it grow, like, rather than doing that, just say, like, if your good friend said that about themselves, like, how would you respond to them? And I think that's the easiest way to sort of show yourself kindness, is to take it out of your situation. Well, not to take yourself out of yourself. I don't know, something about talking to your friend, basically. So just pretend you're your own friend and respond with kindness. And then the third pillar, which is my absolute favorite, is common humanity. Like, we're all human, and this gives me comfort on a daily basis. They know, like, when I make mistakes, or even now, probably I'm going to end this and be like, oh my god, I'm so annoying. But at the end of the day, then I just say to myself, listen, we're human, like, I'm human as well. We all make mistakes, we all feel pain, hurt, trauma, death, happiness, joy, like, it's all there. So when we are suffering, and you can often feel really isolated in that, I think to try and connect back to other people, it really is, it's just nice to remember that we all go through it in different ways. But yeah, at the end of the day, we're all human, and we don't need to be too hard on ourselves. So yeah, self-compassion can be done in a number of different ways. So there's touch, words, we self-compassion mantra. So this could literally just be like a one line that you say to yourself in your head when you hear that inner critic pop up, or you recognize that you're not giving yourself that kindness, and you could just have a wee sentence of, like, I hear you, this is painful, just something simple like that. But obviously I'm going to do it through art tonight. I also wanted to share, I shared this with the Arts and Wellbeing gang on Monday, and I just thought I would share it with you guys as well. So yeah, I was reading Kristen Neff, of course, and one of the lines said, the less you resist, the less you suffer. And I thought that was really powerful. Just basically talking about, like, the more you're able to process the difficult emotions and be aware and mindful of them, and actually give them attention and the action that's needed, the less you'll suffer in the long term. So they talk about that pain is inevitable, but suffering is sort of, it's your own doing, nearly. That sounds awful, but yeah, you can choose not to suffer so much if you just acknowledge the pain. But I do want to acknowledge that it's not all easy. Like, I'm not saying self-compassion is like this magic wand that's going to make mental health so much easier. There is something called backdraft. This is basically just when we weren't just it. So it's just if it won't connect unless you know, and if you haven't been given compassion, or you haven't experienced that before, you won't know it, so it will be scary. And it's the actual distress that arises when people receive compassion from themselves or others. And this can lead to then when, like, you know, people say like you're self-destructive, maybe like you have a really good relationship but you ruin it, but that's where it comes from. It comes from not actually recognizing that, or not being used to that compassion, the love, kindness. So self-compassion just allows us to reprocess old memories with the love and compassion that was missing originally. So now we'll get on to some drawing because I've talked enough. So yeah, mindful drawing, it's like similar to automatic drawing, taking a line for a walk. Basically what I want you all to do, if you can look at yourself on the screen and draw your own portrait, try yeah, I know, look at yourself even more on the screen. I'm giving you license to do that, even though we're all doing it anyways, aren't we, constantly at the minute? So you have license to stare at yourself on the screen for the next while. Try not to lift your pen, and just keep moving the pen. So don't lift it off the page, and don't stop looking at yourself. Try not to look down. Like, just make a mess. I'll even show you a couple of examples here. Trust the process. Don't worry too much about it. You can start with that bilateral again if you need a wee warm up. But yeah, it's up to yourself. The more lines you do, like the longer you spend doing it, normally it nearly works out better. It's quite abstract, but you can have a few practices. I'll just let you go and try that. I'll play some music for you again. And like I say, feel free to mute me if you think it's awful. But yeah, I'll give you 20 minutes or so now, if that's all right. You just zone out, see where this takes you. And if you don't want to do this, it's grand. If you literally want to just sit here, listen to music, just join in a bit of chat, that's grand as well. Like, I'll be on the chat if anyone wants to. So yeah, enjoy some mindful drawing. I'll leave this one up for you.